Hey everyone, Matt here from Docs Running, and today we're going to do a 100-mile review of the Saucony Endorphin trainer. So this is the training shoe in the Saucony Endorphin line. At one point it was the Endorphin Shift for many years, which people really like that series. This is, the Kevlar Pro was really meant to be a racing shoe for the more recreational runner. I feel like with the updates to this shoe, it really brings it into more of that trainer line. It's not, in my opinion, a super trainer, which I know some people might be a little bit upset about, which was kind of marketed, but it is a good training shoe within the Endorphin line that still can handle speed. And thankfully, it is now more durable, at least for certain people. So this is really a durability review with a little bit of biomechanics talk, because I really want to lean into that into our reviews from here on out. So this is me testing that just a little bit, and any feedback is obviously welcome. So first thing, as always, we're going to do specs before I talk about did this shoe last 100 miles, which it did. But men's size 9 is coming in at 9.9 ounces or 280 grams. Women's size 8 is coming in at 8.9 ounces or 252 grams. I talked about my size 10 measurements in the past in previous videos. The stack height is 41, 42 depending on who you talk to in the heel, and about 33, 34 in the forefoot depending on who you ask. There's a 8mm drop, and that's consistently what this thing feels like, higher up from the shift. But I really do think this is a great training shoe, and I'm going to say this again, not a super trainer, but a training shoe that has a lot of speed versatility, that also is still going to be a great option for the recreational runner looking for a very good racing shoe that maybe the speed or the Pro or the Elite is too much, and this is a great shoe that does a little bit of everything without being too extreme in anywhere. So this is the outsole. You might have seen photos of this, but the heel has survived. This is my left shoe, and those who watch this know that I rip through these things, and there are many shoes that don't get to 100 miles with how aggressive my mechanics are. That's a whole different discussion, but the rear foot sole is still intact. The forefoot, the lateral aspect is getting chewed up, so people that really land pretty hard on that lateral forefoot and chew through that, the durability is going to be about the same as the Kevlar Pro, but if you're like most people in a rear foot striker, you're going to get a lot more miles out of these, which thank goodness, because they are, a little bit more expensive. They're in that higher price range, not the highest, but you're gonna get more miles out of these. And the fact that I got 100 miles, I actually have 110 on these at the moment, is great. You're gonna get more out of them. Now, there's some very interesting things about this shoe. I will say the Incredi-Run foam has continued to be incredibly resilient and super bouncy, and it really balances itself really well with the Power Run underneath. I like this combination. I would like this to be Power Run Plus. I don't know how that would feel, but these two together make for a great combination where it's really nice, and this shoe is truly stable neutral. That has not changed over the 100 miles. In fact, it's actually gotten a little bit more in that direction, and I'll talk about why, but the foam is holding up really well. I don't feel like it's degrading. It's maintained its ride. The upper is still that slightly lower volume, but still stretches a little bit, so it has that performance fit without being too loose or too narrow. It kind of sits in the middle. Be a little careful though, it does taper, so some people, especially on that lateral side, I have gotten some blistering here, so if you're sensitive to that, just be aware, but it does break in nicely, and I haven't had that since like the first 20 or so miles. So it's broken really nicely. Upper's really great, really secure, fits really nicely, you forget about it, performance-like fit. Outsole's doing very well. It's handled it despite that lateral forefoot, and the midsole just maintains its life over the period, and the Incredi-Run really holds up very well. Power Run by itself tends to die, as most EVA foams do after a little bit, but the Incredi-Run is holding up very well and balancing it, and I'm expecting to get a lot more miles out of this shoe because of that combination foam, and especially that top layer, which is really great. Now, some things to note from a biomechanics standpoint. Yes, the heel bevel we did talk about in a written review, and if you want to see the full written review, go check that out on the website. The heel is just a teeny bit clunky because of this centered heel bevel. Yes, there is a bevel here, but because it's more centered and kind of narrows like this, if you're someone that lands that lateral aspect, which most people do, myself included, it's gonna feel a little clunky because it's gonna shove you inwards just a teeny bit. If that was curved a little bit more like this, or if this was the opposite where it was kind of more rounded on the edges, that would be better and make it smoother, but it's not like that, so it does take some time to break in. Once this lateral pillar does break in, it's really nice, but just know it's a little clunky in the heel for the first maybe 40, 50 miles, and then slowly gets better after that. I will also say this is one of the most stable neutral shoes I have tried in a while, and I would almost call this a medial stability shoe for one specific reason. Yes, this has the medial midfoot filled in. Yes, there are some decent sidewalls in this shoe. They're not super aggressive. But the most specific thing about the midfoot is you will notice right here, the EVA Power Run comes up fairly high. good like mid-level here, it doesn't come up as high on the lateral aspect. And what that does is creates kind of a wedge-like design. In this case, it's going to go like this. So the medial midfoot is going to be slightly higher than the lateral midfoot. That's also the same thing because of the fact that a lot of us are going to wear through that lateral forefoot. You're also going to get that same wedge design. So if you don't like that, this is not going to be a shoe for you. If you have any lateral ankle stabilities as you wear through this, it's going to start pushing you this direction. If you like that and you want a shoe that doesn't maybe have that true post feeling, but you just want to keep a little bit laterally guided, you're going to work really, really well. And this shoe has worked very well for me for that reason. It is a borderline medial stability shoe because of that mechanism, just without a post, and it gets more prominent the longer you run it as the foam compresses more. So that's just something to be very aware of, but overall, it's a really good shoe. It is stable. Again, more on that lateral aspect, it's going to push you a little bit more laterally. Yes, the midsole foam has continued to be a great shoe where I love this shoe because I can take it out and I don't know what I'm going to do, but it will handle everything. I've done every single workout in it. I've done track work. I've done tempo runs. I've done long runs. It handles everything well. Is it perfect as a racing shoe getting down to those faster distances? No, I would rather use a true super shoe if I'm going to race, but it can still run fast. I've done plenty of 550, 540 miles and things like that in this shoe while pushing a stroller, so it can definitely pick up the pace. The last thing I want to say is when people talked about the shift, one of the things we liked outside of it being stable was the ability to tolerate people that had really stiff toes. There is not a ton of flexibility here. There's the 3/4 carbon fiber plate that goes through the forefoot. And so with this, I forget what the speed roll, I think is what Saucony calls this. Yes, it's got a good roll. It's not too stiff. The forefoot is well rockered and doesn't have a lot of flexibility. So if you have some toe mobility issues or just want a really smooth forefoot rocker, this shoe is going to work for you because of the plate and because of the good early forefoot rocker. Now, be aware, just because something has this doesn't always mean it's going to work for you. So if this isn't lining up exactly with your natural mechanics, even if you don't have toe mobility, if it doesn't line up with your mechanics, it's still going to put a lot of pressure on your foot. So it's going to be good for those if it lines up with your mechanics. If you got stiff toe joints, don't have the mobility, you put it on, it feels good, this is going to be a great shoe for you, but it is going to be an option, and I believe this is a shift upgrade or successor. It's going to be different from the shift, but it is a successor in many ways. So those looking for this may want to take a look and give this a shot. As always, I know I'm giving this review out slightly early. By the time a lot of you see this, it's going to be after the release. This shoe, I believe, launches in March of 2025. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. When people start to get this on their feet, please comment below. Do you agree or disagree with me about how the mileage is going on this shoe? Do you agree with the fit, the bottom, the midsole? Let me know what you think. Do you agree with the stability that I talked about? Let me know, because the whole point of these videos is to help support all of you figuring out what shoe is going to work best for you, because every person is a little bit different. And last but not least, hope this stuff is helpful because I really want to support all of you and hope you're having a great 2025.